Do not roll my daughter into an operating room until somebody opens the original scan. The words were quiet, but they stopped the emergency hallway. Malik Rowe stood beside the gurney in a faded hoodie, a black single father with rain on his sleeves, a paper visitor band around his wrist, and his 9-year-old daughter's trembling hand locked inside his. Nia's lips were pale. A pink bowl rested near her cheek. 2 nurses were already turning her toward the surgical elevators. Dr. Julian Voss stepped in front of them, like the hallway belonged to his white coat. "Mr. Rowe," he said, loud enough for the nurses stationed to hear, "you are not going to teach me how to read your child's brain." Malik looked past him at the frozen scan on the rolling monitor. "I'm not teaching," he said. "I'm asking why the midline moves opposite your report." Tessa and Nguyen, the CT technologist, stopped breathing, and for 1 second the surgeon's face forgot how to look certain. A monitor kept beeping behind Malik's shoulder. A child cried behind a curtain. Rubber soles squeaked over waxed floor. At the center of it all, Nia Rowe lay on the gurney with her eyes half shut, trying not to scare the only parent she had left. 10 minutes earlier, she had vomited again, then whispered that the lights were bending. Voss turned from Malik to the screen and back again. His white coat was clean enough to look unused. His name sat in blue stitching over his heart. "The source file?" Voss said. "You looked at one screen for 6 seconds. I looked at the orientation marker." "You looked at something you do not understand." Nia squeezed Malik's fingers. He bent closer to her. "I'm right here, baby." The surgical resident at the foot of the gurney stared at the floor. His badge read Caleb Price. Tessa stood near the wall with one hand still on the tablet. Her face held the careful blankness of someone who had seen a problem and been told not to name it. Voss took 1 step closer. "Your daughter has a dangerous shift on imaging. She needs intervention. Your delay may cost her brain function." Malik looked again at the frozen image, a pale crescent, a compressed ventricle, a bright letter near the lower edge. "If that is my daughter's brain," Malik said, "why is the midline moving opposite the report?" The hallway thinned into silence. A nurse paused with a syringe in her gloved hand. A father holding a vending machine coffee stopped chewing his lip. Even the security guard near the double doors looked from Malik to the screen. For 1 second, not more, Voss's polished face cracked. Then the polish came back. "Security," he said. "Stand close." The guard shifted forward. Malik saw Nia watching him, scared less by the doctor than by the way adults suddenly looked at her father. Malik could feel the old heat rising in his chest, the kind that had ruined other men in other rooms. In his wallet, under his driver's license, was a hospital badge that did not belong to him anymore. Elena Rose smiled from the plastic, younger than grief should have allowed. On the back in blue ink, she had written 5 words. "Check twice. Speak once." Malik breathed in the smell of antiseptic and warm plastic. He let his fist open. "I am not refusing care," he said. "I am asking for the original scan to be reviewed before anyone cuts my child." Voss smiled as if Malik had given him exactly what he needed. "Document that," he told Caleb. "Father obstructive, refusing consent." Malik's eyes moved to the resident. Caleb's pen hovered. Tessa looked down at her tablet. Nia whispered, "Daddy?" "I'm here," Malik said again. But the gurney was already moving. 3 hours earlier, the rain had come sideways across the east side of Bellwether City, silver against the windshield of Malik's delivery van. His van had one mismatched back door and a cooler full of medical parts for Aeroline medical transport. Inside were sealed boxes of tubing, 2 replacement pump batteries, and calibration gels for a clinic across town. Malik drove with one hand on the wheel and the other ready near his phone, because Nia had been home from school with a headache. He had learned to listen to small changes, a different breath from the bedroom. A spoon dropped too slowly into a bowl, a child saying she was fine with her eyes closed. For 3 years, Malik had been mother, father, driver, cook, hair detangler, appointment keeper, and the person who slept lightly in the next room. At 10:14 in the morning, his phone rang, the school nurse. By 10:47, Malik was carrying Nia through the rain into St. Aurelia Children's Hospital. She had been trying to be brave. That made it worse. "My head feels too full," she told him at the triage desk. The nurse looked up fast after that. Nia vomited into a paper bag before the bracelet printer finished spitting out her name. Within minutes, she was in a bay under thin blankets, and Malik was answering questions he knew mattered. No falls, no fever, no known seizure. Yes, she had complained about light. Yes, she had had headaches before, but not like this. Nia was 9, sharp, stubborn, and trying too hard not to scare him. She wore her hair in 2 puffballs because she said braids took too long and life had other business. She also had a small vascular malformation discovered the year before. Most days it lived in a folder and a calendar of boring appointments. St. Aurelia had followed the malformation for 8 months. Not Voss, another doctor, a quiet pediatric neurologist named Dr. Imani Bell, who explained risk with pictures and never reached for fear before facts. Dr. Bell was at a conference that week. Her office message said to use emergency services if symptoms changed. Symptoms had changed. The first CT happened fast. Malik was not allowed into the scan room, so he stood behind the line on the floor, with the paper cup of water nobody drank. Through the glass, he watched Tessa settle Nia with the care of a person who knew fear could hear. "Hi, Nia," Tessa said through the speaker. "I'm going to move the table. It may sound like a big washing machine. You do not have to be brave. You just have to be still." Nia gave one tiny thumbs up. The gantry began to spin. Malik heard it before he saw anything. A low wobble inside the fan cycle. Not loud. Not alarming to most ears. But he had spent 11 years with machines that told the truth through vibration. He looked at the base of the table. The index light blinked, paused, then blinked again. "Table index is off by 2, he murmured. The nurse beside him glanced over. "Excuse me?" "Nothing," Malik said, because it was not nothing, and saying the wrong thing too early had a cost. He had once carried a badge into rooms like this. Not a doctor's badge, but one that made the machines tell the truth. For 11 years, he calibrated CT and MRI systems for Lydian Medical, checking table travel, slice thickness, orientation markers, and the invisible rules that kept left from becoming right. He had even helped write a checklist for export errors on this model. That was why the wobble bothered him. That was why one missing slice could matter more than a famous voice. And that was why he hated what came next, because the last time a hospital defended a summary, instead of opening the original, Elena never came home. Elena Rowe had been a patient safety nurse at another hospital, St. Bride's. She could spot a medication error from 10 feet away and could calm angry families with one hand on a chair. She believed systems failed because people got tired, proud, rushed, or afraid to admit the first crack. "Check twice," she would say, tapping a chart. "Speak once." When Nia was 6, Elena's chest pain was called anxiety twice in one night. A scan was misread, then summarized, then defended. By the time a cardiologist saw the original, the window had narrowed to a thread. Elena lived 3 more weeks. The hospital apologized without admitting fault. The lawyers sent paper. Managers used words like unfortunate and complex. Malik wanted to burn every polite sentence in the city. Elena stopped him with a hand on his wrist. "Promise me," she whispered when the room smelled of saline and lilies. "If something ever happens with Nia, you don't fight the room. You find the truth. Check twice. Speak once." "I promise." "Not once in anger," she said. "I promise." After she died, Malik left the engineering job. Too many machines, too many hallways, too many doors where families waited for someone powerful to be right. He took delivery work because machines in boxes did not ask him to trust them. He kept Elena's old badge in his wallet, not to show anyone, but to remember what she had asked of him. He packed lunches. He learned hair detangler. He sat through parent-teacher nights in work boots. He kept Nia's appointment folder in a blue binder with tabs. He watched other parents arrive at clinics in pairs, watched forms ask for mother's signature, watched doctors look over his shoulder for a woman who was gone. He learned to be calm in rooms that expected him to be loud. That morning at St. Aurelia, calm became work. When Tessa finished the scan, she helped slide Nia back to the gurney. "You did perfect," Tessa told her. "I hated it perfect," Nia whispered. Tessa smiled. "That counts?" Then she checked the tablet. Her smile faded by a millimeter. Malik saw it. "What is it?" he asked. "Radiology will read it," Tessa said. That was answer number one, the safe answer. Malik leaned closer to the tablet without touching it. A small preview image sat in the corner. Scout image, axial stack, orientation letters. He saw the bright marker flash and vanish when Tessa swiped. "Can you tell radiology to review the DICOM original?" he asked. Tessa's eyes moved to his face. Most people did not use that word in emergency bays. "Radiology reviews the study," she said carefully. "The full source series, not an export." Before she could answer, a voice behind them said, "Why is this patient still in CT?" Dr. Julian Voss did not enter alone. Attention moved with him. A resident followed him. A nurse moved aside before being asked. Even the clerk behind the desk sat straighter. Voss was 49, handsome in the way hospitals liked for fundraising brochures. Silver at the temples, trim beard, blue eyes trained to show concern at the right angle. The West Wing's new pediatric surgical suite had his name on the donor wall, though technically the donors' names were larger. He looked at the screen. He did not look at Malik. "Who ordered the scan?" he asked. "Emergency attending," Tessa said. Voss tapped the tablet. "There's shift. Prepare OR availability. Page anesthesia." Malik stepped closer. "Doctor, I need to ask about the orientation." That was when Voss looked at him for the first time. Not at Nia, not at the blue binder under Malik's arm. At the hoodie, the damp shoes, the paper band. The delivery company logo, half visible under Malik's jacket. At the black father standing alone where Voss expected apology. "I'm sorry," Voss said in a voice with no apology inside it. "And you are?" "Her father." "I know that. I asked why you are interrupting." The first insult was not a shout. It was placement. Malik was not a parent with information. He was furniture in the wrong spot. "My name is Malik Rowe," he said. "Nia has a known vascular malformation. Dr. Bell follows her. I'm asking you to compare the scout with the axial orientation before you decide on surgery." Voss held out a hand to Caleb without looking. Caleb placed a chart in it. "You are asking me," Voss said, scanning the first page, "to delay treatment for a child with acute neurological symptoms because you dislike a letter on a screen." "No." "Then what are you asking?" "To open the original file." Tessa's hand tightened around the tablet. Voss noticed that. He noticed everything that could threaten him. "Ms. Nguyen," he said, "is there an issue with the study?" Tessa swallowed. The scout in the axial preview looked slightly inconsistent. "It may be nothing. I was going to flag radiology." "May be nothing," Voss repeated and smiled at the resident. "This is why we do not practice by maybes in hallways." Malik felt Nia's fingers search for his. He took them. "Please," Malik said, "call neuroradiology." Voss closed the chart. "Radiology report is pending. I can read a CT well enough to save a child's life." The line fit his mouth too easily. He turned to the nurse. "Move her." That was the first exit ramp. A new technologist had flagged a possible mismatch. A father had asked for a source review. A child was stable enough to pause for minutes, not hours. Voss stepped over the ramp. They moved Nia back through the emergency department. Malik walked beside the gurney, his palm on the rail, watching his daughter blink against the ceiling lights. At the nurse's station, Ruth Calder looked up. Ruth had been a nurse for 27 years, and no title had ever made her move faster than a patient's face. She had gray hair pulled into a knot and a voice that could cut through panic without wounding anyone. "Dr. Voss," she said, "her pupils are equal. Pressure is high, yes, but her speech cleared after meds. The report says left compression. Her pain signs look opposite." Voss did not slow. "Thank you, Ruth. I'm saying it doesn't match clean." "I heard you." "Then let's get Bell's backup or neuroradiology." "That will delay care. That may prevent a wrong turn." People heard that. A mother near the vending machines raised her eyes. Caleb glanced at Voss, then away. Second exit ramp. Experienced nurse. Clinical mismatch. A chance to check. Voss stopped and turned, not toward Ruth, but toward the room. "I understand everyone is anxious," he said, making the hallway his audience. "But this is exactly when trained leadership matters. A child's brain does not wait for a committee." The sentence landed well. It usually did. In hospitals, urgency can sound like virtue. Malik spoke before Ruth could. "No one is asking for a committee. I am asking for the original scan." Voss's face hardened. "And I am telling you that a little online reading does not equal medical training." "I didn't learn this online." "Then where?" Malik's hand moved toward his wallet. Elena's badge was there. So was a life he had buried because he had promised not to let grief become a weapon. Nia watched him. He stopped. "Please open the source file," Malik said. Voss looked to security. "Stand close." The guard, Dennis, shifted from the doorway. He was tall, tired, and young enough to hate being used this way, but not old enough to refuse. "Sir," Dennis said to Malik, "let's keep space." "I'm not touching anybody," Malik said. "Then step back. I'm her father." "And I am her surgeon," Voss said. "You haven't explained the mismatch." "Because I am not required to defend my judgment to a delivery driver in a hoodie." There it was, plain, sharp, public. A laugh escaped from somewhere near the resident's desk, then died fast when Ruth looked over. Malik felt the word hoodie move through the hallway, like dye in water. It colored him before he could speak. He saw Dennis's eyes drop to his shoes. He saw one parent pull a child closer. He saw Caleb's pen begin to move. Nia saw it too. That was the part Malik hated. He could take a stranger's contempt. He had taken worse in bank lobbies, school offices, apartment leasing desks, and pediatric waiting rooms where nurses asked if mom was coming. But his daughter was learning, in real time, what the world might decide from fabric and skin and a man standing alone. He bent close to her. "Look at me, not them." Her eyes found his. "You know the whale thing?" he asked. Her mouth trembled. "Whales aren't fish." "That's right, people can be loud and wrong." A small breath left her, almost a laugh. Voss heard only the last word. "Wrong?" He stepped close enough that Malik could smell mint on his breath. "You are endangering your child," Voss said. "The longer you perform suspicion, the more damage you risk. I am not refusing consent. You are refusing to let us proceed. I am refusing to sign until an independent review checks the original." Voss turned to Caleb. "Document that." Caleb hesitated. "Now," Voss said. Third exit ramp. A resident could ask a question. A surgeon could pause. A man could choose accuracy over dominance. Caleb wrote, "Father obstructive. Refusing consent." Malik saw the words form. They were not just words. In a hospital, a note could become a wall. A note could make the next doctor colder, the next nurse cautious, the next security guard ready. A note could turn a father into a problem, and a problem into someone who could be removed. Malik's pulse rose. Elena's voice rose with it. Not once in anger. He placed both hands flat on the gurney rail, visible to everyone. "I want that note corrected," he said. Voss smiled. "Then behave accurately." The gurney moved toward the surgical elevator. Malik moved with it. Dennis put a hand out. Sir? My daughter is on that bed." "Sir, step back." Malik reached for his wallet. "I have medical imaging experience. My wife was in patient safety. Her badge is in here, and I can show you." Dennis caught his wrist. Not hard, but enough. The wallet slipped, hit the floor, and opened. Cards skidded across the polished tile. Elena's badge slid face up between Malik and Voss. For 1 second, Elena smiled up from the hallway. Malik froze. Voss looked down. "Touching," he said, "but we need living expertise." Ruth's face changed. Tessa's eyes filled with something like shame. Nia tried to sit up. "Don't talk about my mom." The effort made pain twist through her. She cried out and grabbed her head. Everything moved at once. Nurses leaned in. Ruth ordered medication. Caleb stepped back. Dennis released Malik. Voss pointed toward the elevator. "Now," he said. "Move her now." The elevator doors opened. Malik grabbed Elena's badge from the floor. He wanted to put it in Voss's face. He wanted to say Elena had caught safer doctors than him on worse days. He wanted to say the man was not saving Nia from delay, but dragging her toward his own certainty. Instead, Malik looked at Tessa. "Do not let the DICOM cache overwrite," he said. Tessa's lips parted. Voss turned. "What did you say?" "I said preserve the original." "You are done here," Voss said. Dennis moved between them. The elevator swallowed Nia's gurney, Voss, Caleb, and 2 nurses. The doors closed on Nia's eyes, looking for her father. Malik stood in the hallway with rain drying on his sleeves and Elena's badge tight in his hand. For the first time that day, he looked afraid. Tessa did not go straight back to CT. She stood near the medication room, tablet held against her chest, while the emergency department resumed its practiced motion. People were very good at restarting after cruelty. It was one of the reasons cruelty survived. "Tessa," Ruth said quietly. Tessa turned. "You saw it too." Tessa's mouth opened, then closed. "I'm in my probation period." "That is not what I asked." "I saw inconsistency. Left and right? Maybe export orientation. Maybe table indexing. Maybe nothing. Is the original still in the audit cache?" Tessa looked toward the CT corridor. Ruth understood before she answered. "Who told you to clear it?" "No one told me to clear it." Ruth waited. Tessa's face pinched. "Dr. Voss said to clean up duplicates and avoid confusion." "That is telling you to clear it. He said it casual." "That is how powerful people give unsafe orders." Tessa pressed the tablet harder to her chest. She was 26, first year at St. Aurelia. Her parents still celebrated the job. Losing it would not be symbolic. It would be rent. Her badge still felt new around her neck. "Tessa," Ruth said, softer now, "I can write what I saw clinically. I cannot save an image I do not have access to. If I preserve it, they'll know." "Yes." "If I don't, she might go to surgery on an export." "Yes." Tessa looked toward the elevators. Ruth did not touch her. She did not say be brave. Bravery was easy to praise when someone else paid rent with it. "I'll document that I advised escalation," Ruth said. "That gives you a line to stand on." "A thin line." "Most good lines start thin." Tessa walked back to CT. At the workstation, the system still showed Nia Rowe's study. The original DICOM series sat in temporary storage, queued for archive, with exports already generated for the surgical dashboard. Tessa opened the metadata panel. Her fingers moved slowly at first, then faster. Series acquired, 113206. Scout orientation, standard. Axial series, orientation intact. Secondary capture export, 114851. Addendum pending. Tessa scrolled. Slice 43 was present in the original. It was not in the export set Voss had displayed. Her stomach dropped. She did not fully understand the pathology. She was not a physician, but she knew when a full source file had been flattened into something dangerous. A message popped in the internal chat. Voss. Clean duplicate CT exports. Use finalized view only. She stared at the words. There it was. Not enough to confess intent. Enough to create pressure. Enough to sound reasonable later. She clicked Preserve to Audit. A warning box appeared. Preserved audit packages require justification and may trigger review. Tessa typed, Orientation discrepancy, reported before surgical escalation. Original DICOM preserved for patient safety review. Her finger hovered above Submit. She thought of Rent. She thought of Voss. She thought of Malik's face when the elevator doors closed. Then she clicked. The system asked for a second confirmation. She clicked again. In the emergency hallway, Malik was at the family phone alcove, calling the only person he knew who might answer before the system sealed itself. Dr. Amara Sloan picked up on the fourth ring. Malik? Amara, it's Nia. The silence on the line changed shape. What happened? Acute headache, vomiting, known malformation. St. Aurelia CT Voss is pushing surgery. I saw a laterality mismatch between the preview and the report. Table index may be off. Export may be wrong. I need someone to review the original, not the secondary capture. Amara did not waste time on shock. That was why Malik had called her. Is the child stable? Borderline, awake, in pain. They moved her toward OR. Who has the DICOM? CT Tech, Tessa and Gwyn. I asked her to preserve it. You asked? Yes. Did she understand? I think so. A surgical clerk passed the alcove and said into her headset, Rowe case, OR ready in 18. Malik felt the number hit his ribs. 18 minutes was not time. It was a fuse. Send me the accession if you have it, Amara said. I don't. Then get it. Security is watching me. Malik. He closed his eyes. Amara's voice softened. Do not let them make you the story. I know. No, listen to me. You are a black father in a hospital corridor challenging a famous surgeon. They already know how to write that note. They did. What does it say? Father obstructive. Refusing consent. Amara swore once, quietly. Malik looked at Elena's badge in his palm. I promised her, he said. I know what you promised. Keep it. But keep Nia alive too. I need you on review. You need an authority inside that building to request me. I can't just access their records from the sky. Dr. Marsh, Malik said. Medical director? Helena Marsh? You know her? I trained with her 20 years ago. She is careful, not fearless. Careful may be enough. Get her name into the room. Tell them I am available. And Malik? Yeah. If the original is what you think it is, do not argue anatomy. Ask one simple question about chain of custody. What question? Who created the export after the warning? Malik repeated it once under his breath. Who created the export after the warning? The line became an object he could hold. Down the hall, Ruth stepped toward him. I wrote my addendum, she said. You did not refuse consent. You requested independent review. Malik swallowed. Thank you. Do you know what you're looking at? Yes. That answer changed Ruth's face. Professionally? I used to calibrate these systems. Used to? My wife died after a scan was summarized wrong and defended right up until the truth stopped mattering. Ruth looked at Elena's badge. Patient safety? The best. Ruth's voice lowered. Then tell me what I can do that helps your daughter, not your anger. It was the first clean question anyone in power had asked him all day. Get Dr. Marsh, Malik said. Now, before the OR clock makes everyone protect the decision. Ruth nodded. Then she did what good nurses have done for generations. She walked past hierarchy with a patient's name in her mouth. In the surgical prep area, Nia lay under warmer lights. A blue cap covered her hair. Someone had placed a sticker with her name and date of birth on her gown. The sight of it made Caleb Price's throat tighten. He was 29, second-year surgical resident, and had built his young career around Voss's approval. Voss could make a career by approving it, or starve one by forgetting a name. Caleb looked at the note he had entered. Father obstructive, refusing consent. He had written it because Voss told him to. That was one truth. He had also written it because it was easier than making eye contact with Malik Rowe. That was another. Naya turned her head slightly. "Where's my dad?" "He's close," Caleb said. "Why is everyone mad at him?" Caleb had no safe answer. Voss entered while scrubbing his hands with sanitizer. St. Aurelia recorded surgical prep corridors after a prior consent dispute, and every resident knew the small black domes in the ceiling. Most forgot them because power makes witnesses look harmless. "Anesthesia is ready?" Voss asked. "Almost," Caleb said. "Consent issue?" "Documented." "Good." Caleb looked at the scan export on the prep monitor. The image had been enlarged, cropped, and annotated. He knew enough to know he did not know enough. That was supposed to be the safest kind of knowledge. But in Voss's orbit, uncertainty felt like disloyalty. "Dr. Voss," he said, "Tessa mentioned orientation." Voss did not look away from the monitor. "Tessa is new." Ruth also said symptoms didn't match perfectly. "Ruth is excellent at nursing. She is not a neurosurgeon. Should we wait for radiology final?" Voss turned it then. The room seemed to tighten around Caleb. "Do you want to be the doctor who waited while a child deteriorated?" "No." "Then learn the difference between caution and cowardice." Caleb felt the sentence hit exactly where Voss aimed it. "No, sir." Voss lowered his voice. "Make sure the note reflects obstruction. Risk will ask later why we moved without formal consent." "I wrote refusing consent." "Good." "Add that father became agitated and interfered with timely care." Caleb looked through the prep room glass. Nia's eyes were closed. She was breathing through her mouth. "He didn't yell," Caleb said. Voss's expression cooled. "Do you want your note to be accurate or useful?" The question was naked enough that Caleb felt embarrassed for both of them. Before he could answer, the intercom on the wall clicked. "Dr. Voss to conference room 3. Immediate patient safety review. Dr. Voss, conference room 3. Voss stared at the speaker. Then his phone buzzed. He read the message. His jaw moved once. Caleb saw the first true sign of trouble in him. Not fear. Irritation at being slowed by people he considered small. "This is absurd," Voss said. "Prep continues. No incision until I return." He left. Caleb stood beside the monitor. The export image glowed blue-white. On the corner, a small letter looked suddenly less like information and more like a loaded weapon. Conference room 3 had glass walls, which meant Voss could still see the surgical floor moving without him. That made him angrier than any accusation. Dr. Helena Marsh sat at the head of the table with risk management on one side and IT audit on the other. Ruth stood by the door. Tessa sat with a paper cup she had not touched. Malik was outside with security. Marsh had once operated. Now she repaired the damage surgeons left in systems. When Voss entered, he took in the table and smiled with professional disappointment. "Helena," he said, "I have a child waiting for urgent intervention. I hope this is not about a father with a search engine." "It is about a documented discrepancy," Marsh said. "It is about anxiety. It is about image integrity." Voss glanced at Tessa. "Ms. Nguyen is new. She flagged a non-issue because a parent pressured her." Tessa looked down. Marsh turned to her. "Did Mr. Rowe pressure you to preserve the original?" Tessa's voice came out thin. "He asked that it not be overwritten." "Did he touch the workstation?" "No." "Did he claim to be a physician?" "No." "Did you see a discrepancy before or after he spoke to you?" Tessa looked at Voss. He held her gaze with a face that donors trusted. "Before?" she said. The word was small. It changed the room anyway. Voss folded his arms. "A preview inconsistency is not a surgical contraindication." "No one said it was," Marsh replied. "But it is a review indication. Where is the patient's father?" Risk management shifted. "Security has him outside. Bring him in." Voss exhaled. "Helena, this is how we lose authority. We invite every angry parent to litigate medicine in real time." Marsh put her glasses on. "Bring him in," she repeated. The door opened. Malik entered with Elena's badge in one hand and the blue binder in the other. Dennis the guard stood behind him, looking more ashamed than official. Malik did not sit until Marsh said, "Mr. Rowe, please." "Thank you." His voice was steady. That steadiness annoyed Voss more than shouting would have. Marsh said, "You requested review of the original imaging." "Yes." "State your concern simply." Malik looked at Nia's surgeon, then at the medical director. "The exported image in the report describes shift in a way that conflicts with the scout orientation and my daughter's symptoms. I believe the secondary capture may have inverted or mislabeled laterality. I also believe one relevant slice is missing from the export shown in the hallway." Risk management blinked. Voss laughed once. "This is exactly my concern. He has memorized vocabulary." Malik did not respond to him. Marsh watched Malik. "What is your background?" Malik placed Elena's badge on the table, but did not push it forward. "I am not a doctor. I used to be a field imaging systems engineer with Lydian Medical. My work included CT and MRI calibration, DICOM orientation mapping, table index testing, and export validation." Tessa's eyes lifted. Ruth closed hers for half a second, as if a piece had clicked. Voss's smile thinned. "Used to be." "Yes," Malik said. "Not currently credentialed here." "No." "Not licensed to interpret diagnostic images." "No." "Then perhaps we can let actual clinicians proceed." Marsh raised one hand. "Dr. Voss?" Malik said, "I am not asking to interpret disease. I am asking you to verify whether the image you used to plan care is the same image the machine acquired." The IT auditor, a narrow man named Sanjay Patel, leaned forward for the first time. "That is a different question," he said. "Yes," Malik replied. Marsh turned to Sanjay. "Can we open the original?" Voss spoke quickly. "We have the finalized export." "I asked about the original," Sanjay typed. "Audit package preserved by Tessa Nguyen at 12:03. Voss looked at Tessa. The paper cup trembled in her hands. Marsh saw it. "Thank you, Miss Nguyen." Voss leaned back. "Fine, open it. We are burning minutes." "Then we will spend them accurately," Marsh said. The wall monitor woke. A login screen. A patient number. A list of series. The room became very quiet in the way rooms become quiet before a verdict, even when nobody admits there is a trial. Sanjay selected the original axial series. Nia's brain appeared in thin gray layers. Malik forced himself not to move. He wanted to run to the OR. He wanted to grab the mouse. He wanted to say, "There, there, there." But a father shouting at a screen would help Voss. A father who had promised Elena had to let the evidence walk on its own feet. The same residents who had looked away in the hall now watched the source file like it was a second patient. Marsh turned to the remote screen where Amara Sloan had just joined. Her face appeared from another hospital office, hair pulled back, expression awake and serious. "Dr. Sloan," Marsh said, "thank you for joining quickly. I understand there is a question of image integrity before pediatric neurosurgical intervention." "Yes." Voss stared at the screen. "Amara." "Julian," she said. That single word carried history. "You are consulting for a parent now?" "I am consulting for a child." Marsh said, "Please review orientation, metadata, and the relevant anatomy. We need clarity." Amara nodded. "Scroll to Scout first." Sanjay opened it. The Scout image appeared. Malik's thumb pressed into Elena's badge under the table. Amara said, "Orientation marker is standard. Table direction noted. Now axial original." Sanjay switched back. Scroll slowly, Amara said. The images moved slice by slice. Gray, black, white. A child's life in rings of light. Stop, Amara said. Slice 43. No one breathed loudly. There, Malik whispered before he could stop himself. Voss snapped. Let the physician speak. Amara did. This slice is not in the secondary capture set I was sent 2 minutes ago, she said. It changes the working interpretation. Voss straightened. Secondary captures are for display, not final diagnosis. Then why was the display set used for surgical escalation? Marsh asked. Voss's mouth closed. Sanjay looked at his screen. The export used on the surgical dashboard was generated at 11:48. Tessa spoke softly. After I flagged the mismatch, Marsh turned to her. Time of your warning? Approximately 11:42. I told Dr. Voss the preview looked inconsistent. Sanjay typed again. There is an addendum request at 11:50 under Dr. Voss's credentials. Report language updated at 11:56. Consent note by Dr. Price at 12:01. Additional note by Dr. Voss at 12:07. Voss pointed at the monitor. Because the father was obstructing. Malik finally looked at him. Play the hallway camera, Voss said. Please, let's stop pretending. He was agitated and refused. Risk management hesitated. Voss mistook hesitation for support. The camera will show it. That was the trap he had built with his own hands. He believed records belonged to rank. He believed cameras captured posture, not truth. He believed the hallway would show a black father standing too close, talking too firmly, looking too angry for a room already trained to fear him. Marsh looked at Malik. Mr. Rowe? Malik remembered Amara's question. Who created the export after the warning? He also remembered Elena's. Check twice. Speak once. Please, play it, he said. The camera feed opened without sound first. There was the hallway. Nia's gurney. Voss in white. Malik in black, staff around them. Dennis stepping forward. Elena's badge falling. Voss watched with visible relief. The picture did look like a story he could use. Then Sanjay clicked audio. The room heard Voss say, document that. Father obstructive, refusing consent. They heard Malik say, I am not refusing care. I am asking for the original scan to be reviewed. They heard Voss say, then behave accurately. Ruth's jaw tightened. The video jumped forward to the surgical prep corridor from the ceiling microphone near the glass doors. Voss's voice was lower but clear enough. Make sure the note reflects obstruction, he told Caleb. Risk will ask later why we moved without formal consent. Caleb's answer was faint. He didn't yell. Voss said, do you want your note to be accurate or useful? No one moved. Not Voss, not Marsh, not Malik. Even through the remote screen, Amara's face changed. Sanjay paused the video because his hand seemed to decide before his mind did. Marsh removed her glasses. That was the moment Dr. Julian Voss's career began to shake. It did not collapse with screaming. It shook in silence, which was worse, because everyone in that room had heard the story Voss tried to write and the record that refused to obey him. Voss stood slowly. That is out of context. Which part? Marsh asked. The urgency, the pressure, the father's behavior before... Ruth interrupted. I documented his behavior before. He requested second review. He kept both hands visible. He comforted his child. He did not refuse consent. Marsh looked at Tessa. Did Dr. Voss instruct you to remove duplicates? Tessa's throat moved. He messaged me to clean duplicate CT exports and use finalized view only. Sanjay read from his screen. Message sent after the discrepancy warning. Audit preservation triggered 4 minutes later. Export and report addendum occurred between those events. Amara spoke from the screen. Helena, the original DICOM does not support the intervention described in Dr. Voss's escalation note. The child needs urgent care, but not that operation on that premise. I recommend immediate neurovascular review and alternate management. Marsh picked up the phone. OR desk, this is Dr. Marsh. Hold incision on Nia Rowe. Transfer decision authority to the pediatric neurovascular team. Dr. Voss is not to proceed. Voss stared at her. You are suspending me during an active emergency? I am removing you from this patient's care during an active safety review. You cannot do that on the word of a former technician. Marsh looked at the monitor, the metadata, the paused video, the audit log, and Elena's badge on the table. I am doing it on the record, she said. Malik did not feel victory. He felt his knees nearly fail. Nia, he said. Ruth was already at the door. I'll take him. Malik followed her out, leaving Voss in the glass room with the records he had trusted to obey him. At the prep doors, Ruth caught his sleeve. Breathe first, she said. She needs her father, not the fight. It was Elena's rule in another voice. Check twice. Speak once. Malik breathed, then stepped in. Nia lay under bright, warmer lights with a blue cap over her hair. Caleb stood beside the bed, pale and silent. When Nia saw Malik, her eyes filled. They put a hat on me, she whispered. I see that. It's ugly. It is very ugly. Her mouth twitched. Am I having surgery? Not the one they said. They're checking twice. Like Mom? Malik took her hand. Like Mom. A new team arrived with a different kind of urgency. Dr. Priya Kenner from Pediatric Neurovascular Medicine introduced herself before touching the chart. A neuroradiologist came in person, not by rumor. They reviewed the original DICOM at the bedside and explained it in words Malik could repeat back. Nia had swelling and vascular irritation, serious and dangerous, but not the open surgical emergency Voss had declared from the export. The corrected orientation and missing slice changed the route. Medication began. Monitoring tightened. A less invasive procedure stayed ready if she worsened. Are you certain? Malik asked. No, Dr. Kenner said, and did not sound ashamed of the word. But I am confident enough to stop the wrong plan and pursue the safer one. Caleb stepped forward after Malik signed the new consent. Mr. Rowe, I wrote what he told me to write. That does not excuse it. I saw you were not refusing care. I'm correcting the note and giving a statement. Malik wanted to ask why fear had held Caleb's pen harder than truth. Then Nia squeezed his fingers. Make it accurate, Malik said. Caleb nodded. I will. By morning, Nia's pressure numbers had steadied. She kept down ice chips. Better was not safe yet, but Malik could breathe inside it. Dr. Marsh came before noon with Ruth. She did not begin with polished language. Your concern was valid, Marsh said. You did not refuse consent. You requested independent review. The record has been corrected. Dr. Voss has been removed from your daughter's care. His surgical privileges are suspended pending investigation. We are self-reporting to the medical board, and the Voss Research Fund is frozen while we audit similar cases. Malik listened. Tessa and Gwen will not be punished for preserving the original, Marsh added. Only then did his shoulders lower. I want the false note preserved in the audit, he said, not in Nia's active chart, but somewhere people can study it. They need to see how fast a lie can dress itself like medicine. Marsh nodded. We will preserve it. And write a policy that says a family asking for source review is not refusing care. Ruth held up a folder. Already started. 2 months later, St. Aurelia changed the rule. If a family questioned whether a scan matched the source file, the hospital had to check the original before anyone called that family difficult. Security could not settle a clinical disagreement. A note could not turn a request for review into refusal of care. The first class was taught in the CT suite, where Tessa showed a new technologist how to check an orientation marker twice before trusting a clean-looking export. Dr. Bell signed the new safety protocol and added one line of her own. A parent's concern is clinical information until proven otherwise. At the bottom of the training sheet were 5 words. Check twice. Speak once. Nia saw them at a follow-up visit and held Elena's old badge against the paper. "Daddy?" she asked. "Did you speak once?" Malik looked through the glass toward the CT room. Tessa was teaching a new technologist. Ruth corrected a resident's note with a red pen. "I waited until it could save you," Malik said. Nia slipped the badge into his palm. Mom would do the eyebrow. The eyebrow would have ended everybody. She laughed, and the sound filled a place in him the hospital had nearly emptied. Before the original scan appeared on that screen, Tessa had only a choice and a risk. "Tell me what you would have done in her place. Protect the job a powerful surgeon could take away, or preserve the file that might save a child." This story is a fictional dramatization. The people, hospital, and events are invented, but the need to listen and verify is real.